Welcome to Better HR in 10 Minutes, where we take an HR question and discuss it in 10 minutes or less from the perspective of an employment lawyer and an EEO trainer. I'm the employment lawyer, I'm Sarah Glasser.
And I'm the trainer, Rodney Klein.
Okay, so keep in mind that even though I'm a lawyer, the things that we talk about today are not legal advice, and I don't represent you. So, Rodney, I was reading the news earlier today, and I saw that the EEOC has filed suit against FedEx based on what we tend to call 100% healed policies. So I know that the EEOC has had a position on 100% healed policies for a very long time, but the fact that they filed this lawsuit gives us a fun opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think all we saw was the EEOC's press release, so we don't really know what's going on there. We just see one version of it. But I found it kind of surprising because the EEOC's position on 100% healed policies has been around forever, and they've made it very clear for a very long time that if they find one, they're going to sue on it. So I was really surprised that that somebody like FedEx might actually have a 100% healed policy that the EEOC ran across and, of course, filed the litigation on. So the reason that the EEOC tends to have an issue with this is because if an employer has a 100% healed policy, then it kind of makes the ADA non-existent, right? We're saying, look, if an employee has a disability and there's either this, we can either put them out on leave without pay, or we can put them into an accommodation on the job. We decide we're always going to put them on leave without pay. Why? Because the ADA says that if we have two accommodations that are relatively, or they're equal, work equally, then we get to decide which one, and we're deciding the leave. And I'm like, I don't know that it really works that way. I don't know that leave is very often equal to an accommodation on the job, but it also kind of works backwards. It's like it's like somebody's kind of trying to come up with a loophole to get out of providing accommodations, because the whole idea of the ADA, Sarah, is to put people with disabilities on the job and keep them working. So what is your thought on that?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This one, it's kind of interesting because it seems like as you said, FedEx was basically saying, we've got these two accommodations that are equally effective, and everyone knows the EEOC says when you've got two accommodations that are equally effective, the employer gets to pick one. So it sounds like, based on what the EEOC is saying, that FedEx said, okay, well, we picked this one. And it, when I am, this is going to kind of illustrate how basic this is. When I am doing training for managers and supervisors, I spend time talking about the purpose of the ADA versus the purpose of the FMLA. So the FMLA is like, how do you help people not work? And the ADA is, how do you help people work? And so when you look at it in that framework of, are we helping people work, then this circumstance is just not, it's not accomplishing that goal and that purpose.
It's funny that you bring that up within the context of training, because when I do training, sometimes in some groups, I'll see a manager in the room and I'll start talking about the ADA, and they're like, and I can just see the wheels turning, right? And let me make sure I'm clear on this. It's never a first line manager. It's somebody upstairs. And they're like, I think I found a loophole in the ADA, right? So that we don't have to provide any accommodations at all. And here's the thing, nobody else has ever thought of this, right? I'm the only one that's thought of this. And I always find that funny, because what this basically says is that all the really smart people that drafted the law and all the really smart judges that interpret it never thought to consider the obvious. But they did. And so the EEOC sues on these because the ADA is pretty specific. And it says, look, if you have a policy that tends to weed out people with certain types of disabilities, that policy is illegal unless it's job related and consistent with business necessity. In other words, it's the only way that you can get this done. And that rarely happens. That's a huge bet. And we'll find out if FedEx is going to pay off on that bet or not.
Yeah. So when I do training for managers and supervisors on the ADA, I tend to talk about it as a 3-step process. The first is, let's look at accommodations within the job. Can we bring them back that way? And maybe if there are multiple accommodations within the job, the employer gets to pick the most effective one. And if we can't get there, then there's two other steps: reassignment or leave. And we don't really talk about those things until there's nothing inside of the job. And I think that that's probably the safest thing to do.
It's more along the lines of what the ADA was created for, and that's to help people with disabilities stay on the job and be productive on the job, not find a way to keep employees with disabilities off the job.
Yeah. All right. Great feedback. Well, it was fun chatting about this. I know we've got more ADA topics and more things to talk about as always. So until next time, if there's anything Rodney or I can do to help you with any of your employment needs, please don't hesitate to reach out.